Alright, so today we're going to be going over a new deck profile, is Gill Alhama'at. You guys might have heard of him. He's a new ruler. Basically, he has mana counters on him. He gains mana counters via resonance and obviously the normal means. He can use those mana counters for ancient magic, and they produce any color will for ancient magic. He energizes for yellow-black, so that's the main theme. He J-activates once you have 7 counters on him. He J-activates for free into a 1,000 flyer. He has the same things, same resonance, except resonance now gives him 2 counters instead of 1. And then he has the unique ability of J-activating one last time into a 2,000 J ruler with barrier, swiftness, precision, flying, and first strike. In order to judgment into that, though, you need to remove 20 counters from him, and you need to destroy every single thing on your side of the field, including magic stones. That happens before your J ruler flips. Something to keep in mind as far as priority and stuff. You can pay your J activation cost and get Moonbeamed, even if you have Wind Secluded Refuge out before you flip your ruler, because of how the stacking works. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But once you flip to that side, not only do you get all the attributes I mentioned, but also every single chant in your hand becomes an ancient magic, and he has the ability to play ancient magic chants for free from that point forward. So he's a really interesting guy. And so what I did, much like I'm actually starting to see a theme here with my decks, is I tried to figure out a way to make it so that he could get counters as fast as he can to do that first J activation, and basically play very safe and controlling, and still trying to get to that second J activation as well, but still have win conditions that I can easily get to after that first J activation while I'm waiting for that last one. So I'll start with his stone deck. So obviously I run 4 ancient magic stones with him. Produces yellow, black, and you can tap it and remove a mana counter from him to produce any color will you want. So it's similar to Ruler's Memorial pretty much. I really like it. I run 4 of Magic Stone of Heaven's Rift. Produces yellow, black, obvious reasons. And I run, for the last 2 cards, I run 2 of a Magic Stone of Scorched Bells. It produces black or red. I run 2 of those mainly because I needed it was either that or just run a plain black stone. The reason I wanted a red, though, was for I think it's just 1 card in there that has red in it, and so it's just a condition in order to play that card in order to help ramp up that mana if I am able to, essentially. So we'll start with the resonators. For obvious reasons, I run 4 of the Demon Orderly. He's a 1 cost 3/3, and you treat him as a Darkness Magic Stone. So you're able to do a lot of cool combos with him. Just him entering the field puts counters on your J ruler. If he's done his first J activation, he's just playing it puts 2 counters on him. And he plays with another resonator I'll be getting to in a little bit. Or actually, I'll get to it right now. He plays really well with Rachel, Nephilim Commander. I run 3 of her. She's a 3 cost 7/7 with flying. When she enters your field, you put a Demon Resonator with total cost 1 or less, or total cost 1, sorry, from your graveyard into your field. So you're able to grab that demon back out. Colson. So it can pull Demon Orderly back out onto the field to trigger your J Ruler's Resonance a second time. And also it'll trigger her Resonance. She has Resonance with Darkness Magic Stone, where it destroys a Resonator with total cost 2 or less that your opponent controls, and puts a counter on your J Ruler. So just her entering the field puts a minimum of 2 counters on your J Ruler, and destroys a 2 cost Resonator your opponent controls. And like I said, I run 3 of those. I really like it. I do run another combo you could do. This is a very rare combo, so I only run 1 of these cards in my deck just because it's not needed. It's just a fun idea if it's able to go off. But I run Demon Captain Eligos, something like that. It's a 4 cost 8/8 demon with flying. However, its ability is when it enters your field, you put a demon resonator with total cost 3 or less from your graveyard into your field. So theoretically, you could put her out onto your field, and she can pull out Rachel because she's a 3-cost demon. She comes into your field, and then she pulls out that 1-cost demon, and which will trigger all the different resonance and everything. So just paying 4 to put her out, you now have 3 resonators. You've put a minimum of 2 counters on your J Ruler, and you've destroyed a 2-cost resonator your opponent controls, and 2 of the resonators on your field have flying. So it's a cool combo. I would probably either have her in my hand or search her out with Fated Reunion, probably late game once those 2 resonators are for sure in my graveyard. Otherwise, if I started with her in my hand, I would just mulligan her. If I had to discard a card, I would just discard her type of deal. Next, I run 2 of Blackheart Alice. She's a 4-cost 800 1000 with precision and flying. When she enters your field, you get to search your deck for Schrodinger, the Cat and Flex, and put it into your field. And you can pay 3 and banish a non-token resonator to destroy a non-Magic Stone, non-J Ruler card your opponent controls. She's nice. Once again, it gets some flying out there. Good attack, and being able to bring out that Schrodinger for free and just set it into your field is nice to help populate your field. Once again, helping with that stalling until you can J-activate, or she helps with win conditions or defending against flyers and things like that. The card she brings out is Schrodinger, Cat and Flex. I run 3 of those. It's a 2-cost 100 600. It has the ability of whenever a resonator in your opponent's field goes into the graveyard, you get a 500 500 shadow token. If Cat and Flex dies, the tokens die with it. But it's just, once again, an easy way to populate your field. You're already killing their resonators, so might as well get some free stuff for it. And if you're playing Dark Alice or Black Alice, it comes into the field for free, so it's not a big downside for running it. And having multiple of them on the field stacks, so killing 1 resonator, if you have 3 on the field, suddenly you have 3 500 500 shadow tokens. And so you can easily overwhelm your opponent with that. Next I just run 2 of them, but I run 2 Viola Obsidian Dragon Princess. She's a 2-cost 500 500. If you put her onto the field as a resonator, she has the ability you can, for 1 black cost, you can buff her by 100 and give her flying. You can pay for that ability with Ancient Magic if you want as well. So she can technically be a pretty strong character on the field. I mainly run her because she has an inheritance ability, which if you pair it with Alhama'at, you get to play it for free, and it gives him imperishable until end of turn. So it's a good way to keep him from dying. Unfortunately, obviously not dying from Moonbeam since you can't chase it, but pretty much anything else, battle damage, spells, different things like that, because like I said, I want to try and keep the point of this deck about that J activation. If perchance he does get Black Moonbeam or something happens and he does die, I do run 1 of Riola, Alabaster Dragon Princess. She's a 3-cost 8/8, and when she enters your field, you get to either play a card from your graveyard that's Dragonoid. I don't really care about that. The main thing she does is heal your Astral J Ruler. So your J Ruler is astral after it has died. So if I do that, not only will she heal it, but because his J activation is free as long as you have 7 counters, I can instantly J activate as soon as he's healed up. So I run 1 of those just as a backup condition that I can search out or have in hand. Next, this card is extremely important, I feel, for this deck, is I run 4 Ancient Heartfelt Fire. This is the card I was talking about, that I have 2 red stones just if in case I want to get some extra counters. It is an ancient magic, so I can pay for it with Alhama'at's counters as well. I use it for the ability to put 3 counters on my J Ruler. It has the 400 damage ability if the conditions call for it, but I mainly want to use it to just keep piling up counters on my J Ruler. I want to try and do the first J activation if possible by at the latest turn 3 or 4, but with it, if you get the right hand, you could easily J activate turn 2. That's the main reason I run it, is just to help with that ramp. I run 4 of Viola's Machinations. It's in a Ancient Magic, 1 cost, where your opponent chooses a card and discards it, and you put a mana counter on your ruler or J-ruler. I run it for obvious reasons. If you choose to use Ancient Magic to play it, then it's basically being played for free since it restocks that counter. If you use a stone to play it, then you're helping with that ramp with the ruler like I was talking about, while also having your opponent discard a card. So it's just a great card to have in general to help especially control your opponent's hand. Speaking of which, next one is I run 3 of Nameless Mists. Same idea, you get to look at your opponent's hand and discard a non-resonator card, and it puts a counter on one of your resonators as well. It's only 1 cost, so it just overall helps with helping control your opponent. And then I run a 3 Lapis Darkstorm. 2 costs, your opponent discards a card at random and then discards a card. So you're able to basically keep your opponent under control pretty well. If the game is already up, you'll see like it especially helped with controlling Prisha. During the second game, unfortunately, that I lost, but I was able to make him discard enough cards in his hand that he was without any cards in his hand and had to take an extra turn or 2 in order to ramp back up to where he was supposed to be. And I couldn't draw stuff in time to counter it, but the point is it helped control my opponent to buy me time in order to, if I could, counter him at some point. So just being able to control your opponent in that way is extremely helpful. I run 4 of Alhama'at's Black Lightning. This is from LEL. It's a 2-cost Ancient Magic, and it destroys target non-darkness resonator. And that card cannot be cancelled, so it's great just to look at a resonator and say, I want to kill you, and not worry about this card being cancelled. So it's good for high-value targets, things that you need to get rid of and can't risk having that card cancelled, especially if you're really low on mana. And it's Ancient Magic, so you're able to play it with Alhama'at's counters as well. You can also pay 4 more to put it back into your hand after the ability resolves as well, so it's extremely helpful. I run for obvious reasons, I run 2 Black Moonbeam. It's an Ancient Magic, so you get to play it essentially for free with the counters on your J-Ruler. If you see that Pressure versus him game, that I was able to play it almost each time that he J-activated, even if it was his turn 2, because the amount of counters I have combined with the stone I have and possibly Energize, I'm pretty much always going to have enough mana or enough will to play that card and destroy his J-Ruler. And obviously that applies for all decks. Being able to play Black Moonbeam with Ancient Magic counters is pretty awesome. I run 2 Faded Reunion. I don't run a lot of them because it's a 2-cost and I don't want to be spending will to be searching out cards that I could have in my hand if I had replaced that. If instead of having Faded Reunion in that spot, I had the actual card I was looking for. So I only run 2, and it helps just to search out cards like I had mentioned. Say my J-Ruler had died and he's now an Astral Ruler. Being able to search out the card to heal him again is extremely helpful, or any other cards that might need in the occasion, such as Black Moonbeam, cards I just run 1 ofs, different things like that. I run 2 Barrier of Shadows. It's a 1-cost field. Not only is it just universally good for all decks, it's a good counter for Prisha. It's a good counter for decks like Kaguya, which might not be dependent on will to J-activate, and now they have to actually worry about spending will to J-activate, as well as countering Regalia abilities. It helps sort of soften the blow from things like Levitine and other ones. And the last card I run is 2 of Alhama'at's Purge. I only run 2 because this is sort of a last resort card in my opinion, because I usually am pretty easily not only able to get to the 7 counters, that's extremely easy, but most games I'm able to get close to or near that 20 counter mark before I even draw one of these cards. It's one of those where I'd probably just search it out with Faded Reunion if I really need it to get those last couple of counters I need, or if I fell behind because I had to use the counters for another card. Search it out, destroy my resonators, put the counters on, J-activate, win the game essentially. So it'd be a win condition type of thing, but I have it in there because it is still good to have in those types of conditions. But yeah, it's a lot of fun deck. There's a lot of stuff to remember in it. I find myself oftentimes forgetting about certain resonance abilities or combinations of things to do because there's so many things going on in it. But overall, I really like the deck. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. If you like the video, subscribe. We have a couple of these deck profiles coming out, plus the ones we've done in the past. Be sure to check those out in our playlist, as well as more games coming up.